Without a doubt, around the world, when we ask women what they want when they fall pregnant, is they want one-on-one continuity of care.
I think every woman wants the best for her child.
Women want to turn up the volume
and say that it must be women who define what is quality, equity and dignity for them when it comes to childbirth.
Women around the world want to be listened to,
and it's important that we hear them. We truly listen from a place of the heart to what women and babies need.
Mothers will not be able to enjoy their birthing experience if they're not treated with dignity and respect.
I think women want to be respected
as human beings, not as bodies.
They want to be in a place which celebrates the pregnancy, enjoys the pregnancy, and then give birth to a baby in that same atmosphere.
They want to be involved in decisions about their care.
They don't even know that they have options to want something.
Women want the full information about what's happening to them.
And women want to be involved in decision making.
I would say women want to be the authors of their birth story.
And what better way to do that than allow and encourage and facilitate and really insist that women be at the lead of their care.
When they come to a care provider, women want a mixture of skill and empathy.
And so I think what women want is a way for us to better elicit their values and integrate that into the care that we're providing.
I think they want to feel like they're in control of their experience and control of their destiny.
Precisely what women want is to have their bodies back.
The best thing you can do for somebody is to pay attention.
It's not one thing. It's a complex circle of continuity.
The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
The reason why we want what we want is because that's what women want.
So I think it's time that we listen up.
Birth is very important to humanity, and I think that women who give birth, it's an experience that really matters to them.
Giving birth is what we do since the beginning of time.
You are creator, you are nurturer, and then you are deliverer at the end of it, you are the birther. And this is the only experience in every woman's life that she can have the potential to completely own.
Birth in its inherent nature is natural.
Birth is not a medical event, it's a human event. So her human needs need to be put forward.
Every woman understands implicitly the blueprint of birth. We need to create spaces and environments for her to walk that pathway with security, with confidence, with love, with support, and then she will know how to care for her baby without the need to be abused or violated.
There are a lot of things in the course of being pregnant and going into labor and having a baby that are legitimately preference sensitive.
Part of our obligation is to ensure that we make it possible for the very diverse set of people who are women to fulfill those needs. But we know that when women are asked, they want more than just a good outcome. They want a good process.
The baby is an active participant, not just a passenger. And therefore we need to consider that in the way we behave in the birthing room.
And it's really important that doctors and midwives see the woman as a complete being that's made up of both mind and spirit and body, and not just a body producing a baby.
Present paradigm of birth and birthing as labor and delivery will not help
We must look at the journey as a holistic rite of passage for women.
It's important to give women the best possible experience. It's safe, it's affordable, and that's empowering.
A lot of people will tell you that women don't want to have natural birth because they're afraid of it and it's painful and it's dirty and it's messy. I really believe that the majority of women, and I think there's a bit of evidence around to say it, really value their normal processes. They want to experience conception, pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding completely without interference. And I think for many who didn't feel that even at the time, after they go through a medicalised process, there's a loss and a mourning, because our normal processes are what make us women.
We're getting better, we're getting stronger, we're getting healthier, we're getting more informed. Never before in the history of the world has it been more possible to have safe birth and satisfying birth. But we must never compromise satisfying birth for safe birth.
When we talk about human rights and healthcare in general, what comes under that is ideas of autonomy, respect, dignity, informed consent.
Human rights are a fundamental right. Everybody should be treated with respect and dignity, and women should have the choice about how they're cared for, where they give birth, whether or not they're going to have a baby. It is a fundamental right.
Human rights, they're not a fancy extra, they are the point, they are the centre of good maternity care.
Their right to seek the highest level of attainable care. Their right to informed consent before they receive any form of treatment. Their right to refuse medical treatment. Now, you don't have to be informed to refuse medical treatment, and a care provider should be required to respect that. Their right to seek care when they want it. Their right to be treated, most important of all, with respect and dignity. And their right to seek justice when and if they need it.
Looking at the current landscape of maternal health care services, both in low and middle income countries and high income countries. So are women accessing care, and what is the quality of the care? And then in the series it goes on to look a bit about the future of maternal health, predicting what the major shocks that might affect maternal health are, but also what some of the potential solutions are to those. And it finishes very much with a call to action.
When the professors released the new Lancet series on maternal health, one of the key points that they made and that the panel also emphasized is that human rights in childbirth must be situated in the overall struggle for human rights in general.
When you have human rights-based care, you actually get better physical outcomes and better psychological and social outcomes.
The human rights framework is a very good framework when it comes to improving standards of care for women, and also informing communities about their rights when engaging with healthcare professionals.
We just felt it was such an important thing to have a conference solely focused on respect and evidence.
This conference has brought in awareness. This conference has brought in the issues in the public domain.
This conference is, backed by passionate women who want to see change.
What it can do is probably trigger a conversation. And I'm really glad to hear the sort of things that I heard at HRIC 2017.
I think now is the challenge to get something solid going forward.
A big part of being able to affect change is being able to attend multidisciplinary meetings like this, where we can decide the best way forward, where economists and midwives and obstetricians can all talk together.
How can I contribute what I know? How can a policymaker contribute what they know? How can a midwife, a doctor, an obstetrician, a lawmaker make contribution that makes sense to placing a woman and baby at centre?
A collaborative action plan, and I think I like that word, because when we're talking about women, when we're talking about mothers, when we're talking about, it's a community thing. There's a saying that it takes a village to bring up a child. and women energies are circular, feminine, collaborative. So I think that the collaboration part really excites me, and I think that's coming out really strongly.
We all have to strive to create this atmosphere for the mother and baby, which is beyond physiological and biological, but also psychosocial and spiritual.
And so for me, the last days has really been this roller coaster of wow, the enormity of the problem mixed with wow, together we can.
So we put people on tables consisting of doctors, lawyers, midwives, and health professionals and NGOs. And the first one was to introduce autonomous midwifery.
We're increasingly getting birth to be safe in terms of physical safety, but we are failing really badly when it comes to emotional, spiritual, cultural, and mental health safety.
What I've learnt from this conference is just wonderful, which is that we are united, and I think for this region we are reaching a tipping point where the data is showing that we can have as much attendance at facilities as we want, but without quality midwifery care, women's rights are not going to be met, and nor are the rights of the women who provide that care. So we have this convergence of the rights of all women who are providers or the carers or the people who are going through birth all together. So for me this is a very strong moment in the history of midwifery.
It's the work of God, hands are mine.
History will look at this conference and see it as the turning point in the development of midwifery in India.
The second one was to introduce accountability mechanisms for violations of women's human rights in pregnancy and childbirth.
Human rights are not recognized very clearly, they're taken for granted until they are violated.
Today's childbirth practices are violating the fundamental right of both mother and baby.
Violations at this particular vulnerable moment, a universal moment, is especially disturbing.
There's no point sanctioning or legitimizing forces under the garb of technology and science, because finally it is the individual choice that should ride over everything else.
A woman should come out of a facility, her home, her hospital or wherever it is, feeling more empowered and more strong after childbirth, not more weak. I feel very strongly about that. And even if a mom's had a C-section, if she knows that everything was tried, I was given all the information, I had a C-section, but my birth was great.
So I actually think that women themselves need to come to the table, and that the change agents that are out there need to work together to build a coalition where they can organize better and have their views heard.
The third priority area that was identified was to introduce legislative change to make either institutions or individual care providers responsible for obstetric violence.
You know, the word obstetrics comes from a Latin root to stand by, and we've lost the art of standing by. And this is not really about midwives or family physicians or obstetricians. All of us work together. We are all needed in the context of maternity care in different roles. We're all experts in our own field.
Institutions, they exert power on us. They discipline our bodies in a particular way. And do mothers in labor really need that disciplining? That was the question. Or, should they just listen to their bodies?
And you're there as a safety net. I mean, I may be a great trapeze artist, but I will always have a net in case I fall, and you're my net, and that's a huge thing. It's a very respectful thing that I trust you to save me, but I need you to trust me.
Only when you're respectful, only when you are empathetic, you actually become a better care provider.
Very heartening to see that there are people within the medical system who at least acknowledge that how it exists now is not how it should be, and we should actually be better care providers.
Doctor, when we come to you, we are not looking for allopathy or naturopathy or homeopathy. All that we need is a little sympathy.
The fourth measure was to introduce what we called an independent, no-fault an anonymous investigative board for serious adverse events or maternal mortality cases.
Even today we lose about a woman every 8 minutes. And I think it's really, really ironic because these women are dying of completely preventable causes.
When you're supposed to do something administratively or clinically and you do not do it, there should be sanction for that. And the best way to do it is to create the structures that ensure ongoing review, monitoring, using data as evidence to achieve change in practice.
Human rights-based approach to delivery, to childbirth, is couched in a larger system.
It's integrated seamlessly within our life and within our healthcare.
This is going to be some kind of an action-oriented thing. It's not just going to be armchair theorizing and writing papers and forgetting about it. This is actually going to translate into some meaningful action.
And the fifth measure was, I think, about educating women.
I think that very little will change unless we empower and activate women themselves to demand these changes.
Woman-centred care upholds human rights.
The one thing I learned in these 3 days is how our women need to be aware of what the rights for them are with respect to their bodies and their babies.
Along with know your rights, there has to be a know your risk side.
This conference, so it's been brilliant, but the next step is the difficult step is how to implement the change and how to make it happen.
The primary message that goes back to our politicians and to our government institutions, that people want this change. And the energy and the excitement that came out of this conference is just the beginning. I would like to say that it was like the Indian wedding. And now we're going to go on to the marriage and to the babies. And we would like to see healthy, happy babies come out of this event.
I think Birth India's vision is always to bring in more and more people into the as stakeholders and the collaborations and connections, and I think that's something that we've done very well.
Women don't need to be saved, they need to be loved. And when women are loved, birth works.
My vision of maternity care is that all women should have access to high quality care that's free at the point of delivery. They should be able to choose where they have care. They should have care in their local communities.
My vision for maternity and infant care in India is one where we have a decentralized approach, where states, districts can really develop approaches that are most suitable to their local context.
What we want to be able to do is provide the right patient with the right care at the right time.
My vision is for a system which works with women rather than just for women.
My vision is that every woman gets what she needs, what she asks for, and still is safe.
So my vision for maternal care is the fact that we should not allow a single preventable death.
My vision would be a world where women's fundamental rights are upheld by the state, by individuals.
My vision to India is to humanize childbirth.
My vision for Indian women would be that, number one, she will be able to make choices freely without any judgment. She should be able to say yes and to say no.
My vision is a collaborative model of care.
To really have a collaboration healthcare system where midwives can work with obstetricians, where we respect each other, that we have different professions, midwives being the expert in normal birth and obstetricians being the expert in high risk.
So our vision is healthy mother, healthy baby, healthy generations.
I would like to see that every woman has a birth companion.
I think every single woman on the planet should have a midwife.
And their knowledge be incorporated in how women birth.
Every woman have access to a midwife or midwifery services that meet their needs.
Every woman should have the support that's necessary to make a normal birth normal, and every woman should have access to intervention when it's required.
She gets a choice to make a decision. She gets a chance to grieve a loss, even if it's a loss of an experience. Say a woman wanting to have a natural birth ends up with a cesarean. She gets a chance to grieve it. It's not pushed aside. And that's my vision.
Okay, my vision of maternal and infant care is that it's integrated with care that we receive over our life.
My vision would include or would require that there will be holistic care for the mother and the baby.
My vision is that every woman can get to choose.
I see a vision that through birth we have an opportunity to raise the level of love consciousness on this planet.
And if a mother is happy and the environment is safe, she's also delivering a happy baby. So your next generation, to a certain extent, you're contributing to a good start. So that's why I'm here as an obstetric.
Every woman emerges as a mother feeling powerful and capable and able to nurture the next generation.
Human Rights in Childbirth has a vision, and it's very straightforward. Our vision is to put women at the centre of maternity care everywhere.
Justice! Justice! Dignity! Dignity! Respect! Respect! We are coming for them! We're coming for them! Boom!